Quick poll of the audience. Has anybody here ever used an app or a desktop software called Evernote? Anyone? Okay. Has anybody used it in the last week? That's impressive. Wow. Phil, you've got a captured audience. Do your thing.
Thank you. Wow. I'm super psyched to be here for the second time in 2 days, I think, in this room. But thanks so much for your time. So I wanted to talk about tablets and about the lessons learned. We've been building tablet software for actually 20 years now, for exactly 20 years. It was about 20 years ago that the original Evernote team started working on the Newton, of all things, which you just saw. Which was way ahead of its time. But that idea, the promise of the Newton, the thing that got the original team at Evernote, this team of really brilliant kind of mad scientists, Russian-American engineers, so excited about it, was this vision of a tablet being the most personal, the most intimate type of device. And so we've been working. We poured a lot of our hard work into the Newton. And then every single tablet after that, everything you just saw, all of the Windows stuff, all of the Palm stuff, every tablet since then, we've been developing on. And in fact, when I first met Stepan Pachikov, the founder of the original team that worked on the Newton, he had in his Evernote account, Elmo. There we go. Is it good? Yeah. He had in his original Evernote account the Doonesbury strip that made fun of Newton. Doonesbury kind of mercilessly made fun of this product for about a week. And it was quite painful for that team, obviously, to see something that they'd spent so many years working on. This is the egg freckle strip. If any of you remember. It's Mike Doonesbury, writes, I am writing a sentence in the Newton, and it keeps mistranslating it, and finally says egg freckles. And then, of course, it was the Simpsons thing that we just saw. And so this kind of, mockery of the work was, I think, quite motivational for all of us. And it was actually quite funny. And it was right. This was way ahead of its time. But the idea of doing something like this and sticking with it until one day it could actually work really motivated us and is at a core of what Evernote is today. So since we had about 20 years of experience developing tablets, I can honestly say that developing for a tablet today has absolutely nothing in common with what it was 20 years ago. So all of our lessons learned from back then are pretty much totally worthless. We have no advantage over any of you guys who probably haven't been thinking about this except for the past couple of months. Tablets used to be the extreme niche device, the thing that only a real nerd, like me or Stepan or the rest of the team would actually use. And now they're the exact opposite. They are the most mass market of products. And what we realized in developing for them is the tablet today's tablet is the most unforgiving UX design. Today's tablet is the most unforgiving platform for building a great experience. The reason is that nobody needs a tablet. A tablet is not an essential component. Everyone needs a phone. And since you need it, you're willing to put up with a whole sorts of compromises. Kind of has a small screen, other stuff. So it's important to make delightful apps on the phone, but people using phone software or phone form factor are fundamentally comfortable with compromises. People need a PC, or at least they think they do. And on a PC, there's a long history of really crappy UX. And so people are kind of willing to put up with that. Nobody needs a tablet. It's a completely new thing for the vast majority of people. And the tablet is basically no compromise. It's a big enough screen where people aren't willing to accept, oh, yeah, this is just the phone version, so obviously it's not going to have all the same features. And yet you're holding it close to you, and you're actually physically manipulating it with your fingers, and it's a nice, beautiful display. And so every single pixel matters, every button matters, every interaction matters. You can't take shortcuts. You just can't get away from doing a half-assed job on a tablet. I mean, you can, and the vast majority of the apps are half-assed or fully-assed. But there's just no way you can succeed. You can put out a pretty ugly app on a computer, and there could be other reasons for you to be successful. That will never work on a tablet. It's the most unforgiving interface. So when we first heard that Apple announced iPad, we immediately knew that we were going to support it. We immediately said, yeah, we're going to support the hell out of the iPad. And we started developing for it right away. And we had a disadvantage because, we had an advantage, a huge advantage, because nobody else had iPads at the time. It was months before Apple released them. But we were actually got an advanced pre-production unit that we were able to develop against, which made all the difference. We had a couple of months head start in developing the UX for it. Of course, Apple didn't actually send us a pre-production unit, but they told us the specs to actually let us build one ourselves. And we did, and I actually have it here. I'm going to donate it to the Computer History Museum as soon as we're done with this. This was the very first Evernote pre-production iPad. It was built to exacting specifications. This piece of cardboard is exactly the same size. We got the weight slightly off, but we thought that was less important. But as soon as Apple published the physical dimensions, we went and we cut out a piece of cardboard and we wrote iPad on them. And we used this for several months. This was our design. So we would Photoshop out UI elements and tape them to the back, and we would put these in and out of bags, and we would see where do our fingers go, and how do we make sure this is correct. And we really lived with these iPads. And then a couple of months after that, they released a simulator, so we can at least write software that wouldn't actually run on this device yet, but it would run. We could run it on our Macs and then kind of hold this near it and pretend that it was the same thing. And I didn't actually see Evernote running on the iPad until I stood in line with everyone else on the day that it came out, and and got it. And we were on the App Store at launch day, and I got it and I downloaded it and I used it for the first time, and it was pretty good. I remember thinking like that. This is not bad. This is actually in some ways better than it was on cardboard. Not in all ways. It crashed less on this device. But it was pretty good. And that's the approach that we've taken with all the tablets since then. So we do develop, despite the iPad being at this point, the clear gorilla in the space, we do have versions for just about every platform. Because that's our mission at Evernote. We want you to know at Evernote that every device you will ever have for the rest of your life will have your Evernote on, will have your external brain on it. So we develop for everything. Plus, we're geeks. We love new hardware. We love developing things. So we were able to get a pre-production unit of the Galaxy Tab when that came out. It's a different form factor, 16 by 9, and so actually the whole design was pretty different when we developed for that. We got an early version of the Playbook, which we developed for. Really, totally different version on the Playbook. You get much less on the screen with this form factor, and so on. But this is what we do with new devices, and it's actually really effective. People kind of look at us weird when they kind of see me at a restaurant with a piece of cardboard pretending that I have an iPad. But it's not because I can't afford one. It's because I'm working on the secret next iPad 3 version that the rest of you guys probably don't even know about yet. So our lessons learned from tablet development is it is the world's most unforgiving platform. You cannot think of this in the abstract. There is no such thing as a lowest common denominator cross-platform approach. You can't do that. If you take a cross-platform lowest common denominator approach, you're going to wind up with something crappy and it's going to fail. You have to do full native, best possible experience for every tablet device that you have. And if you can do that and then you make a wonderful experience, it is by far the best market to be in right now.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
Thank you.